Hello viewers, Captain Breerson here. Welcome back to another flight simulation video where today, for my Canadian viewers, you're in for a treat. We are going to be flying from Dublin to Toronto in the Air Canada A330. And the reason why I'm doing this flight route is because recently in the news, or just I think it was just near the end of last year in the news, Air Canada announced that they were going to be making some changes to their Toronto to Dublin route. Instead of flying under the name Air Canada Rouge, they're just going to be flying under the name Air Canada, and they're going to be flying an Airbus A330 from Dublin to Toronto on that route. So I thought, after seeing that news story, I thought I would do this particular flight, but in an Air Canada A330, going the opposite way, except going from Dublin to Toronto over. And the plane I'm using is Thomas Root's A330. It's a freeware airplane, in which I'm not a big fan of a freeware aircraft. I'm more of a payware aircraft kind of guy. God, I'm such an elitist. But anyway, all joking aside, though, in all seriousness, though, for a freeware airplane, this is actually pretty good. It's still, I mean, it's got the same cockpit as the default A321. It's using similar assets to it, but it still is a pretty decent aircraft, nevertheless, despite its odd issues here and there, but most of them are just minor issues, so those I can forgive. It's still a pretty good aircraft nevertheless, and at least I get to fly in an A330 as well, so that's good as well. So anyway, without further ado, we're going to go ahead and jump straight into the cockpit. We are currently at the gate at Dublin Airport. I don't know what gate it's at. What gate are we at? We are at 404 Charlie. 404 Charlie is the gate we're at, and there's only one last container to be loaded on. So once that's loaded on, ready to go, we will then begin pushback. We will then close the cargo doors and begin pushback from the gate, and then be on our way over to Toronto. So this is so as you can see, this is a freeware airplane, as I said before. So there's going to be no checklist, no flight management computer. The flight management computer is not working for me here, and there's going to be excuse me, there's going to be no LNAV or VNAV, so I'm going to have to operate this whole thing by the headings knob here. So I'm going to be operating this aircraft mostly manually by the MCP, and yeah, that's just basically how freeware airplanes work. But anyway, though, the airplane is Charlie Golf Foxtrot Uniform Romeo. Oh, that container is now finally on, so we'll go ahead and close the cargo doors. There we go. Yeah, as you can see, there's a bit of a minor issue there regarding the animation, but well, that's forgivable. Don't know why the what's with the air brakes? Why are they up? Is it something to do with the turning of the airplane? I'm not too sure. But anyway, we're loaded up now, so we can go ahead and begin pushback. We're climbing to 38,000 feet. We're going to be doing a step climb instead of climbing straight up to 38,000 feet. We're going to be doing a step climb. So we're going to climb up to 25,000 feet, burn some fuel off, and then climb up again to 38,000 feet if we can reach that. But anyway, though, we're ready to go. We have everything loaded on, and our GPS is working, and that's what I'm going to be using instead of a flight management computer. I'm going to be using the standard GPS. So anyway, without further ado, let's begin pushback. So prepare pushback and departure. Nose right, tail left. Do I want to start engine for pushback? No. I'd much rather start the engines when I finished pushing back. Thank you very much. And while we're at it, let's go ahead and set trim for takeoff. That's the sun visors.
We are ready for pushback.
Roger that. I have you located, Mr. Marshaller. And as you can see, it's there's a nice sunset here in Ireland, in FSX, of course, not out in the real world, but in Flight Simulator, if you know what I mean.
Departure check completed.
All right.
Live has been inserted. Release parking brakes. Commencing push. All engines clear. Start that wheel.
All right, we're good to go. Okay, why is the trim all of a sudden just going down for me? Oh, that's right, autopilot is on. Bloody hell. How did the autopilot come on there? No idea. Anyway, engine 2 is running normally, so we can go ahead and start up engine 1. And we can also turn off the APU as well. There we go. Okay, both engines are running. We'll go ahead and set flaps for 2. And we'll go ahead and actually we'll see, we'll test the flight dynamics once we're finished taxiing this big bird. Or actually no, when this big bird has finished pushing back, I meant. God, I'm using the wrong terms here. But anyway though, I remember the last freeware plane I flew was the Airbus A380 freeware plane that I did that flight from Kuala Lumpur all the way over to Dubai, and pretty good flight. Being able to fly an Airbus A380, despite it being freeware, was still a pretty fun plane nevertheless. Look at that sunset. Gorgeous it is. Absolutely gorgeous sunset. Perfect time for us to go flying across the Atlantic to Canada, am I right, guys? Okay, I did not mean to put up the landing gear there. Although one advantage that freeware airplanes have over payware aircraft is that they're not as demanding for performance, or they're not as demanding for graphics, or they don't have a big impact on performance, unlike payware aircraft, because they mostly use defaults or using assets from the default aircraft.
Unlocking gear.
Unlocking gear. Roger.
Tow truck disconnected. Live has been removed.
Alright. Tow truck is disconnected, so we can go ahead and turn on the taxi lights.
Left is clear. Right is clear.
Copy. Alright, we're good to go. We have the have a good trip sign up there. So we can now go ahead and begin taxi to runway 28. I know I said that I would test the flight dynamics once we finish pushback, but I'll do it when we're on the runway since I'm the only aircraft that's at Dublin. Plus I have AI traffic settings off, so that way I won't have to worry about any AI aircraft blindly getting in my way and not being aware of my presence. Anyway, though, approaching the runway, so we can go ahead and turn on all the lights. The ILS function doesn't work very well on the Airbus A330 payware. Oh, not payware, the freeware plane. Oh god, I'm mixing up my words badly here, lads. Okay, parking brake is on, so we can go ahead and test the flight dynamics. Yep. Now we'll go ahead and test the spoilers. Yep, spoilers are working. One last check on the flight dynamics. Yep, flight controls are good. So then, without further ado, let's go to Canada. Stabilized, and here we go. A knots, or no, we haven't reached 8 knots. Yeah, now there we go. 8 knots. Cross check.
Airport information, Zulu 1857 Zulu, wind 205 at 13, visibility greater than 20 miles.
120.
Sky conditions, few clouds at 1,800, few clouds at 14,000.
B1.
Temperature 11.
Rotate.
3, altimeter 2915, visual, runway 23 in use, landing and departing, runway 23. VFR aircraft say direction of flight. All aircraft read back, hold short instructions. Advise controller on initial contact, you have Zulu.
Right. There we go, shut him up. Now, positive rate, gear up. And the flaps can come up now. Now, autopilot can come on now. As well as we can now set the heading as well. It's 290. I'll be operating the heading manually, so it means I won't have any assists from the VNav and the LNav. I suppose now we can increase speed to 290 knots. Whoa, lots of lightning here in Dublin. It's also quite turbulent here. Now then, 10,000 feet, so we can go ahead and turn off the landing lights, turn off the taxi lights. We can turn off the recog lights as well. Not sure what they do. What do the recog lights do? Not much, I don't think. Anyway, landing and taxi lights are turned off. So I think now we can also turn off the fasten seatbelt sign as well. There we go. Anyway, in the meantime, I'll just go ahead and give the passengers a little bit of a briefing. Ladies and gentlemen from the flight deck, this is your captain speaking. We're now, okay, I forgot my words there completely. That's the first time I ever failed a cabin announcement there. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, sorry about that. I didn't know what I was going to say. I will talk to you again when I know what I'm going to say there. So, apologies for that lame announcement there. There we go. Now then, go ahead and turn on the panel lights. Look at that sunset! Amazing! There we are, get a photo shot of that nice sunset. I think maybe now would be a good time to okay then. Okay, seems like that visor won't work. Anyway, in a few minutes we'll have to make a left, actually I'll make a right turn. Take a look at my GPS. Okay, we can now make the left, or not the left turn, the right turn now towards our next waypoint, which is Resno, which is out in the Atlantic. Alright, I know what I'm going to say now. Ladies and gentlemen from the flight deck, this is your captain speaking. The fasten seatbelt signs are now turned off, so you are now free to move around the cabin if you wish to. However, if you do not want to move around the cabin, then we advise you to keep your seatbelts on. This is just in the event that we encounter turbulence or if the plane starts falling out of the sky, which is highly unlikely. But for now, we ask you to sit back, relax, enjoy complimentary snacks from our lovely flight attendants and stewards. And we once again for choosing Air Canada, bringing the Canadian feeling with you wherever you go. Well, that was a nice announcement. Bringing the Canadian feeling. Look at that sunset. I know I said it before, but just look at the sunset. It's amazing. Very amazing. Still too low for the sun visor though. Okay, it looks like the engines are starting to become a bit stressed, so go ahead and set vertical speed down to 800 and also set the speed there. Just so it it'll make it more easier for the engines, and therefore I don't have to worry about damaging them or anything like that. Meantime, we'll set vertical speed back to 12. Looks like the engines are starting to pick up quite a bit of speed there, so I'll just go ahead and set that to 1800 feet. I think I'll take control of the engines from here. Well, maybe it needs a higher airspeed, so I'll go ahead and set that to a faster speed, maybe set to about 370 knots. If it will allow me to do that. Okay, I think maybe we're starting to struggle a bit, so maybe I'll consider leveling off at 35,000 feet, just so it gives the engines time to burn off some fuel, or gives the airplane time to lighten up a bit before we climb again higher. There we go, at 35,000 feet. Another few more feet to go before we reach 38,000, but we're going to do a step climb instead. Now, this should give the plane time to burn off some fuel, and therefore climb higher. Now, how far is Ireland behind? Well, I can say this much, that we have just now left the country, and now between here and the Atlantic Ocean is Canada. Well, between here and Canada is just this, all of the Atlantic Ocean, and then once we get across the Atlantic Ocean, it's straight into Canada. So here we are, still crossing the middle of the Atlantic. Whereabouts are we now? Oh, we're just beside Iceland now, with Greenland over there. So I imagine we're going to be somewhere near Greenland once we go into Canada here. So I imagine it's getting darker behind me here now. I imagine the darkness of the sunlight is coming behind me now. Well, it is behind me there, but I wonder, will it get dark by the time we reach Canada? Who knows? Who knows? But anyway, it's nice and calm now up here in the Atlantic at 36,000 feet. I think I'll stay at this altitude since the plane is doing okay this altitude, and that there's no need for me to change or climb higher to my original assigned altitude of 38,000. 60% of fuel should be enough to make the journey to Canada. It's starting to get a bit dark there now. I'm starting to my face is starting to disappear in the darkness of my room, but I can still see my own face there, so that's good. It's because of the computer screen there that's reflecting there off my face. $325 nautical miles before we reach 5830 November. I think that has something to do with the North Oceanic Track System, I think it is. I'm not too sure. Again, I rarely do flights across the Atlantic, so this would be a rare opportunity for me to fly across the Atlantic. Ah well, it'll be worth it though. Alright, so I've turned on my bedroom light there, as you see. You're probably not interested, but I just thought I'd say it anyway. So now you can see my face, and you can see my face more clearly. And so I don't look like a ghost in the middle of the room. Anyway though, just took a look at the GPS here. We're not too far now from Greenland. Just around along the border of Greenland nearly. If we go on to the top-down view, we get a better look. Well, we're coming near to Greenland now, so after Greenland, it shouldn't be too far then to Canada. Let's see what happens though. 59340 November. I think that's after the North Oceanic Track System is when we make a left turn, and it'll bring us straight down into Canada and then straight into Toronto. Just want to take a look outside. Some nice clouds there down below us as we fly across the Atlantic. Ireland is well behind us now. Okay, so it's day 2 of recording this video, because as you can see it's now daylight outside. I saved Flight Simulator last night, or I managed to create a mid-session save for this flight, since this is a freeware plane, so that way it won't get affected by, so that way the plane won't get affected by it anyway, unlike the payware aircraft, where they seem to get affected by mid-session saves because of the way I have it set to because of the way I have the default cockpit set to cold and dark. But unlike the freeware planes such as this one, where you can save it and then everything will be back the way you have left it. Anyway, just give an update on how the flight is going. We are now at the bottom of Greenland, and Canada isn't too far away now. So We're still cruising at 280 knots, flight level 360, which I've decided to stay at this altitude since the aircraft is doing okay at this altitude, so we don't need to climb any higher or anything like that. And it's still sunset over in the Atlantic, as it is quite dark over in Ireland. As I said before, we're still racing ahead of the nighttime behind us there. Just go back to this view here. So if I'm lucky, we might be able to arrive in Canada during when the sunlight is only going down. Who knows? We could be arriving. We could arrive in Canada at night though, but who knows? Good news, everyone. We are finally in Canada. Yes, after a long trip across the Atlantic, we are finally coming into land, as we are now flying into Canada, and I can prove this with my GPS. We have a couple of more waypoints to navigate, so let's go to my flight plan here. Yeah, sometimes the GPS is a bit... Oh, never mind. We got something. We have Hotel Oscar and then Uniform Mike to go to. Before then we finally reach Toronto, which is another 1,040 nautical miles away. So we're nearly there, guys. We are nearly there. So then once I get to Vidgo, that's when I might consider planning the approach into Toronto. And it looks like the sun is going down on the other side of Toronto. So, well, not Toronto, Canada. So it looks like we may definitely reach. So by the time we reach Canada or reach Toronto, excuse me, that's when it will definitely. I'm guessing it'll be really, really dark by the time we get to Toronto. So far, we're doing okay. Not much to complain about, really. See how we're doing for fuel. 32% fuel. Definitely worth keeping an eye on. I'm sure we have enough fuel to get to Toronto, but it's something I should keep an eye on, though. Okay, we're at Livba now. Heading towards Vidgo. So now would be a good time to descend down to 7,000 feet. And maybe turn off the auto throttle just so I have control, and turn on the seatbelt sign. And I'll brief the passengers while I'm here. Ladies and gentlemen from the flight deck, this is your captain speaking. We are now beginning our descent into Toronto. So if you mind to return to your seats, finish up with the lavatories, stow away the table trays, and fasten your seatbelts, because we'll be on the ground in a few minutes' time. Thank you. Okay, passengers have been briefed in. As Toronto now is another 284 nautical miles away. Maybe slow down the descent rate a bit. Maybe slow it down to about 1,200 feet, so that way we don't descend too quickly, and that way be able to avoid any mountains that might get in our way there. maybe might add a bit of actually no, we won't need any drag because we're not going too fast down. We're not descending too fast or anything like that, so we won't need the drag or anything like that. Well, yeah, the drag, not anything like that. I didn't mean to include that in, sorry. Set heading to 265. Now, just a minute out from Vidco. And then after Vidco, it's straight to Kilo, India, Sierra, Uniform Kilo, or Kisuk, and then finally Litak. Now we're passing 27,000 feet as we descend into Toronto. We have 15% fuel. Should be enough. We should be okay to make it into Toronto, but there's always that small possibility that we might run out of fuel. Maintain about 240 knots. And 240 and engage. There we go. Means it gives us more time for the approach for when we're making our final approach into onto runway 5. Alright, we've passed Litak. Now we can go ahead and activate the approach. Okay, where did that purple line go? Looks like it's after disappearing on me. Alright, hold on. It looks like we're 1,800 feet above the ground. I don't think we're supposed to be flying this low into Toronto. But then again, though, if only I had my flight management computer, and if this was the payware aircraft, I will know exactly how low I should be and how high I should be in the air when I'm doing an approach into Toronto. So it wouldn't be my fault when you think about it, guys. I'm just not used to flying freeware aircraft. And of course, since we're doing a straight-in approach, we might as well just use a normal approach into Toronto. Activate. There we go. Oh, now it's giving us the line. Jeez, what took it so long? Why did it not give us the line there the first time? That I am confused by. Didn't know what those lights were for a minute, but then I looked up, it was the exterior lights. It says that when I looked at from the tower view, it looked completely different from here. So it did give me a bit of a surprise, but other than that though, it wasn't much. 10% of fuel now. Although, hopefully we don't have to make a go around. So that means we only have one chance to make a decent landing. Otherwise, because we won't have enough fuel to make a go around. Now we're 2,500 feet above the ground. Now, 40 nautical miles away. Okay, we're a little low, so let's bring it up to bring it back up to 3,000 and maintain that altitude. Yeah, even the physics in these freeware planes are not very good. I find the physics in these freeware aircraft to be a bit floaty, in my opinion. Not as good as payware, in my opinion, but still pretty decent aircraft to fly regardless. Okay, let's set trim. Let's set the trim. Alright, we're gonna take a wide turn in now. We're gonna use speed brake to slow down with 9% of fuel. What the? Alright, disengage the auto throttle. Just so it's more easier for me to slow this puppy down. And flaps 2. Gear down. Actually, wrong switch. There we go. Gear down. All 3 of them is down. Flaps 3. Cabin crew, your seats for landing, please. Your seats for landing. Here we go. Alright, let's bring the speed brake back up. Alright, we're a little off the localizer, but let's bring the airplane in for landing. We're going to set speed to 180 knots. Arm the auto throttle, set speed, disengage altitude. Engage autopilot. Will the auto throttle still work regardless of the autopilot? Yes, it'll still work. So it's working as a separate mechanic. Alright, set speed now for 133 knots. Alright, we have only one chance to make a good landing here, so let's make it a good one. Oh, a bit of a crosswind. There's a crosswind. Or was there? I didn't want... There we are. Speed brake is armed.
Sink rate.
Sink rate.
Sink rate.
There we go. Nice and smooth on this landing. 500. 400. 300. 200. Oh, crosswind, crosswind. I think we might have used the wrong runway. Yeah, okay, now 200. All right, there we go. Well, I thought there was a crosswind, but apparently I'm just seeing things. 100. And disengage.
Don't sink. Don't sink.
50. 40. 40. 30. 20. Oh, nice touchdown. Reverse thrusters. Okay, not bad. Not a bad landing. Not the best landing, but decent landing. Decent landing. Flaps up. Oh, we've missed that exit. Oh, Nelly. Alright, we landed. Welcome to Toronto. So APU can come on. Fire. Oh, I forgot to turn off the interior lights. Damn it. Oh well, we've landed anyway. Been panicking, I've been so focused on trying to get this airplane on the ground, and I've forgotten to turn off the damn interior lights. Ah well. We're here in Toronto, so that's the important thing. I forgot to turn on the taxi lights. We're at taxi light. Turn off the taxi light now because we're coming towards our gate. Wait, is there a gate over there? It is. That's the only airport vehicle yeah, there's the pushback vehicle. Yeah, just the vehicles couldn't spawn in properly. Haha. Ah well. So Charlie 30 is our gate. here we go. Alright. Steady. Steady. Here we go outside. Whoa! Okay, I think we might have parked a bit off there, but now we can shut down the engines and bring it the jetway. So, how do you do, Mr. Marshaller? Bit too far, a bit too askew. Ah, well, we're here anyway. So we can go ahead and open up all the doors. Shift E2 and Shift E3. Oh. There we go. And now we can request a deboarding. Remember to operate jetway. That's done. Oh, and turn off the seatbelt sign. There we go. Oh, wait for my action. Open exit 2. You mean these doors here? Ah, I'm supposed to open up the second exit door. There we go. Right, so passengers are now deboarding.
Bye, have a good one.
All of our 217 passengers that were on board the flight are now deboarding. So, I thank you now for joining me on this flight from Dublin to Toronto as part of Air Canada's modified route, modifying the route, the Dublin to Toronto route, by operating the route under the name Air Canada, as I showed in the article earlier on. Hope you enjoyed the flight. I apologize for the few mistakes here and there, but the reason for those mistakes is because I'm not used to a flying freeware aircraft after a long time of flying payware aircraft. But either way though, I thank you for watching, and this is Captain Brereton signing off. Have a good one.